and people can look up if they come from the suburbs. They can do some research here, and it's one of John. We just had and Jack too. I don't know if you're aware, but Saturday we had 55 members of the Chicago Genealogical Society. First time I've pronounced that right. And they came in a bus, and their leader was the son of a Chicago fire captain who died in the line of duty. And I've known him for a while, and so Jack Connors and I were the host here, and we had 55 people come here, and they were celebrating or commemorating the 140th anniversary of the Great Chicago Fire. So it's a fire that will never die, just like the Lady of Angels. And by the way, I'm looking. We have that picture of Fireman Scheit on Squad 1 carrying out a boy. We have from the Our Lady of Angels School. We have a model of the school building as it looked the day of the fire, and so yeah, it is a tragedy. Chicago learns the hard way, Chicago fire.
Well, we're not the only ones. We had that industrial in the garment district in New York where the women were all locked in that place.
Yeah.
What year was that around?
That was 1911, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. Yeah, that caused lots of actually laws, nationwide laws.
Lots of new laws.
Lots of new laws. Yeah.
No, we had Chicago's known for all of that, and we've had the McCormick Place fire.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thunk?
The Iroquois Theater.
Iroquois Theater.
I was just going to say,
right? Yeah. Every big fire, the Eastland disaster, the Chicago fire. Look at all the changes that occurred there. In the fire department, in the building department. High-rise buildings. You could never picture the changes or imagine the changes. And look at in the country as a result of the World Trade Center. You got Homeland Security and all the
like
what you go through in the airports.
We have to go through these disasters to wake up and do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, we're too busy leading and living our lives. And you don't think. I just had a fire in my garage. And what are you going to do? Well, engine 7 got there before I got out to the garage. But are you going to lead out the garden hose? Are you going to use a fire extinguisher? Are you going to call the fire department? What do you do first? So. Did
you say something wrong to one of your neighbors, Ken? Is that,
No, I never say anything wrong to anybody. But there again, it was carelessness. People like to burn. They have these fire pits, and they're burning things, or they're grilling outdoors. And then what do they do with the ashes? They throw them in a garbage can or something. And they never really, are extinguished. So.
It's like the classic Laurel and Hardy film where Laurel cleans up Hardy's house while Hardy is going off to pick up his wife at the railroad station. He's got the place immaculate. He sees a gas jet in the fireplace and decides to light the fireplace, turns on the jet, and then can't find a match. This jet is, of course, pumping gas all the time. And he walks in with the lit match, and the next scene you see is Hardy pulling up in front of the burnt hole where his house once stood, and Laurel is standing there with this little twig of a match in his hand.
Well, I don't remember the title. Was that Work or something? Or remember the name of that one?
I don't know. It's one of their later films. It's one of their longer films where Hardy's wife.
It's a short though. It's a short, right?
But it's they did a lot of silent films, and
then
this is one of the the mid-30s films where Hardy's wife was on vacation. He has to go, and Laurel says, "I'll clean the house up for you."
I think Ali had some kind of a party that the wife wasn't supposed to know about. It started with them.
They have to clean everything up because they've been playing cards.
Yeah, whatever.
She comes home a day early, but the point of it is that people are careless. They do stupid things.
Yeah, and they don't think, they don't realize, and we don't teach. Look at what we don't teach in the schools. I never had Chicago history. I'm teaching Chicago history. We don't have fire prevention, really.
Fire prevention seems to be a thing of the past. It was always a big thing in Chicago.
Yeah.
Big parade.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all the schools involved, and
Yeah.
you don't see it in the papers now anymore.
No.
It's a shame.
And Fire Prevention Week is predicated on the Great Chicago Fire. So it's a
Exactly.
Chicago happening, really, and it's a nationwide, event, and we don't, and
How often do you see this one? You go in to fill up your car, and here's somebody will light up a cigarette while they're filling the
sure.
car up or something.
Yeah.
Or I'm in the car, I'm inside. I'm inside the car. There's
Yeah.
nothing going to happen here,
the motor's still running.
Yeah, whatever, yeah,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
I mean, just don't think about it at all.
yeah.
I saw years ago, there was a guy on a bicycle, and of course they're all on bicycles now too, with these goofy routes, but we got a call when I was on the squad, and the kid is laying on the ground, and the copper's over him, and we're trying to help him, and the kid is saying, "But I had the right of way."
Yeah, oh,
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never forget that. Yeah, you had the right of way. Tell that to your maker when
Yeah.
Well, the saying is, you can be dead right.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Tell that to the doctor.
Yeah, they did that way. This fellow was right.
Yeah.
Dead right.
Dead
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's that one commercial they're running late night, the little service spot. I think it's from DuPage County. Something about they're talking to people who were texting. But they're in the morgue now, Call never did go through, Kind of gruesome. But by the way, we have another voice just joined us, John Kishelko from the town of Cicero, and former office holder. Or are you still an office holder there?
No, I was town trustee, and then I was town assessor for 11 years. But I took early retirement a few years ago. But I was very proud of the fact that the one position I had throughout virtually all of my tenure, I was chairman of the Fire and Police Committee on the town board, because the thing I was most interested in was fire and police. And
Good for you.
I worked closely. In fact, I was involved with the town when the town obtained I think what it's called a burn tower where they train. We have a training tower where they can train men on how to put out fires, and the town never had that. I think they probably used the Chicago facility or others' facilities. And I was talking with the fire marshal once, and he said, it'd be great if we could get one of these. So I promoted it on the board of trustees and was successful in getting the town to put up one of our own.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, this is something new. I know maybe I mentioned it to Ken, is that I've made, and this is Chicago again, I've made contact where the museum will get a piece of the World Trade Center for display here.
Oh, that's great.
And,
that is
of
great.
all places, for what we did, what our people did after, 9/11, we should have been the first one to get something like that.
Yeah.
I see all these small towns are getting it. We will get one, and if we get two, the other one, I promised Bobby Hoff will go to the Fire Academy. So
Oh, that's
we will
great.
have a display here along with the paintings that this artist did for us, and I think that will go a long way in showing that things are changing, hopefully.
I'm just looking, if you don't mind me saying, you got a beautiful color rendition of what is often called the Iwo Jima portrait.
Well,
the
that was-
fireman raising the flag at the World Trade Center.
That's an oil painting done by one of our patrons, and he presented that to us. He has done hundreds of them and donates them throughout the country. He was there this last 9/11, the 10th anniversary, and Mark's a great painter. I mean, it's doing that all gratis.
It's amazing, man. It's just it's an incredible scene. I mean, that it is so similar to the raising of
Right.
the flag at Iwo Jima.
Yes.
It's just
Yeah.
uncanny
Yeah.
that would have happened. That split instant, the photographer
Somebody
take that picture.
was right at the right place at the right
Right
time.
time.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. And those guys had no idea what they were
No,
doing
no,
either.
they weren't posing
I've-
for the Iwo
I've talked to
Jima
those three
scene.
guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we sent some posters and had them sign them, and they had no idea that was
Yeah.
going to be what it turned out to be.
Yeah. That's probably the best way to have it occur, too. You know, it's not posed. It's not.
Oh, absolutely,
It's
yeah,
natural.
right,
It's
yeah.
not,
Yeah.
you know, artificial.
Well, just
Yeah.
like the guys that raised the flag at Iwo Jima
Iwo
had
Jima.
no idea they were
No.
going to become the symbol of the
No.
whole war. You know,
No,
it's-
and it was the second flag, too. you
Right.
know.
That has to
so-
be one of the very top symbols in our own minds as Americans, too, that you think
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Along with the statue and
Yeah.
maybe the George Washington crossing the Delaware and raising the flag. And,
Yeah.
and now recently, I guess that would be the closest most people must have felt like when they heard of Pearl Harbor, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Or the Kennedy assassination.
right.
Yeah.
I know what I felt like
Yeah.
that day.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I remember, and you remember those days. Yeah.
So, one other thing now I understand, a major fire in Chicago. I understand you were there, Bill. The Stockyard fire, you told me you were there?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was at the Stockyard Fire in 1934.
Oh my God.
And there's not too much for me to remember. My dad, of course, was there with the firemen, and all the wives were called to bring fresh water because the guys were getting sick from all that water. And I had a front row seat, so to speak. I was born January 1st of 1935. And my mother was pregnant with me.
He was on the way.
He was on the way.
Okay.
I was on the way.
I do remember you telling me that. I thought we should include that right now. Now, it's funny. My mother and dad, they just met prior to that, and they were over. They'd had a date or something, and they walked down to watch the fire and what was going on. You know, because he's a Canaryviller, and she lived in Fuller Park. You know, the mostly German community east of Canaryville, and he remembers this guy's name, and I can't think was there Quinn Ryan or somebody was a manager of WLS for a while, television here years.
Name rings a
Quinn
bell.
Ryan, I think, was a broadcaster. He was broadcasting.
Yeah,
The
right.
Sox were playing.
Okay, he's the guy then.
Yeah.
On Root Street, Root and Halsted there,
Yeah.
he said, my dad said, some raggedy old dump truck is making the turn around the corner, could barely make it, and, you know, falling apart. And he's embellishing, he says, and here comes a truck loaded down with sandwiches and coffee for the firefighters. He just added a little bit of color there, you know, it wasn't.
Someone told me, he said Quinn Ryan scared the hell out of Chicagoans because while he's broadcasting the Sox game, he you know, which is not that far away. Comiskey Park is not that far away from the Stockyards, and he's saying, "Oh, the fire's getting closer, and there's big blacks," you know.
Oh, well.
You know, and then you know what else was going on was the Century of Progress was in, you know, and that's on the south side of Chicago, and they had,
Right.
you know, lots of. you
That's
know,
where my folks came from.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but they said Quinn Ryan put the fear of the Lord in everybody, and you know, like, hey, let's, you know, terminate the game and get the hell out of here. You know, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
There does seem to be a tendency for things like that to happen. Like I know in 1968, when all the business was going on here with the convention, a friend of mine, his sister was a model in New York. She called home to see if everybody was okay, you know, like the city was under siege.
You know, you could also say in the 1930s they would have needed something to get the White Sox to catch fire.
That's true, yeah.
Woo! I don't
That's
know
right.
about
That
It
was
took
not that was
a
not a
while.
great decade for the White Sox.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I always knew that there was something in the water on the south side, but that you know, that fire when they said the water was poisoned, why
Yeah. Yeah.
it hurt a lot of people.
It wasn't from Bubbly Creek there, was it? Or?
That probably is.
That's not Perrier, though.
No, and I guess it's a form of diarrhea or something, right? And after a while, you can't metabolize the
Please,
food.
dysentery.
Dysentery,
Yeah. That's
Montezuma's Revenge. Or
You're right. Yeah, yeah. That was, and there again was an unexpected consequence of that fire. We don't, to this day, we don't know how many firemen laid up and eventually passed away from it.
Because of
of that. Yeah. So that was really a conflagration. You know, only second to the Great Chicago Fire.
You know, we're on this weekend was the anniversary of the Great Chicago Fire. What I find to be interesting, and I know you teach Chicago history, is that how rapidly the city recovered from the fire. It's as amazing as the destruction of the fire itself.
Yes.
Is how quickly the city rebuilt and actually grew and became a much greater city.
Yeah.
In some ways because of the fire, because all of these wood buildings were cleared away and the city was rebuilt in solid fashion. They passed laws on controlling construction,
Yeah.
and the city becomes I was also interested.